have come up with a project that we want to do, and it's a mini grant that we received, and this would have been a great tool to have at the beginning of that, because then it would have been, we talked it out and we did the best we could, but what I'm finding is it's all coming back in my lap, and I'm the one that's doing everything, and this would have helped prevent that. It would have been more evenly spread out by those who were interested in the grant and the project and helping, and they couldn't just, now they're just not even answering me sometimes on email. So I'm like, oh, but I need your input. I need it by the end of today, and I'm not getting it, so I think this would have helped that a lot. So I'll be using it next time.
And one tip in there, like Amy was saying, is to have, I'm got to echo somehow, is having people self-select what they want to do. And don't assume that just because it's marketing and they have expertise in marketing, that's where they want to be. This gives them an opportunity, especially their stakeholder, to come in and jump into something that they've never done before, and it might be fun for them. So yeah, let them self-select where they want to land. Absolutely, it's empowering. All right, thank you, Vicki. Brandy, Christian, and Selena S.
I agree with Vicki, what she just said. Would have been really useful. I usually have just a few people, a core group of people that do a lot of our planning and stuff. So this would really work for our area.
All right, thank you, Brandy, Christian, Selena S, and Mary. No, that Mary, we already went. Deborah is going to be next.
Well, for me, I think since I have my priority planning event already, I think this is going to really help me to kind of get things done more smoothly. Like I was telling Amy when we were breaking out, that it's kind of like you answer the questions and follow the templates, it basically answers itself. So it's really easy to kind of follow the templates that you all gave out. So I think this is going to help me in the long run as far as delegating people to do things where I don't have, like we said, so we don't have to do everything ourselves, especially here. I need that help. I'm the only one in my department besides our marketing manager. So I think that this will help me to be able to kind of get the partners more involved and get other hospital leadership involved. So the tool is very simple. So I really, really enjoyed it. That's my take.
All right. Thank you, Christian. Selena, Deborah's voice. Dave, I'll let you read that. Jackie, and then Gina.
I think I'm always just like continuously, every time we do these learning collaboratives, just like surprised that, we are all small hospitals and we all can relate to one another. And when we're planning these kind of things, we all have similar hurdles that we're going to probably have to overcome at some point, or, similar departments and similar, responsibility loads. So I think that always kind of encourages me that I'm not alone in what I do.
All right. Thank you.
I'm complete.
All right. Deborah, and then Jackie, and then Gina.
Crazy. Here's a voiceover for Deborah. How everyone's thoughts and ideas were heard and considered.
All right. Thank you, Deborah. Jackie, Gina, and then let's hear from Karen.
My biggest takeaway today was the collaboration within a large group. And it gives you hope when you're working together for the same common goal. And that was great for me today. I'm complete.
Right. Thank you, Jackie. Gina, Karen, and then Selena.
Hi. I think by assigning the committees and delegating the different tasks out, it relieves the stress from one person, and it makes the project more manageable and easier to monitor. Having one of the larger hospitals in the cohort, I know how important that is, because any of our projects that we do here ends up being a large project just simply by the number of employees that we have. And I love that this process, it builds teamwork and creates a bond between all of the people that are working on the project.
Awesome. All right, Karen, Selena, and then Robbie, if you have anything else you'd like to add.
I just love when we can give the champions simple, actionable things to do. Everybody seemed to be so successful right off the bat in filling in these simple sections, and it wasn't so overwhelming to take on projects such as mental health and COVID and telehealth that are really big topics that most of you guys struggle with. I think you've got a way that you know how to move forward with this and your partners.
Awesome. Thanks, Karen. Selena and Robbie, anything else you'd add from your viewpoint?
I'd just like to say that the champions did a great job in working together to think about those action steps and to think about the other resources that will be needed to complete some of the action steps that were identified. Much of what you did today is going to be very similar to how those implementation meetings with the community joint partners will go. So it was great that you guys had a chance to practice that and go through it. And I'm hoping that you guys will continue to lean onto one another as you're planning and preparing for those implementation meetings with the joint partners.
All right. Thank you, Selena. Robbie, you had a bird's eye view.
I did. And I have to echo Karen because it was so exciting to see how you guys just took these huge topics that are impacting your communities and just go right and tackle them. Like, that's amazing to me. So I'm really excited for everyone.
All right. Let's think about it. You guys gave a whole bunch of great things about it, but where are some areas that you still have some cautions or questions that you just have some doubt? Something you're still curious about. Wow, we nailed it.
Well, can I bring up one, Angie?
You can.
How about these champions who have great engagement and commitment when they have this meeting, and then a month down the road, no one's answering their email or phone calls and they're getting off track. How do they handle that?
Oh boy, right after break, we're going to answer that one. Yes. So just a little bit of a preview where we're headed. We are going to take another little short break here because it is, we're running over some people's lunch hour and we want to make sure that we give you some time for all this. But what you have left, you have 2 steps left of today. And one of them is one of my favorite tools. We use it internally as well. Stephanie, you came off mute. Nothing? Okay. So we use this team report, and it is a way to really engage everyone. So if you have, just think about your green, all the different committee lines, right? And they would do this team report. They're responsible for completing this team report. And it's a way to keep them engaged in what they need from each other. And so you'll see that in a little bit. We use this internally and with our own team, and we do it every week. And by 6:30 on Sunday, you have to have your team report done. And we don't waste time in our meetings reviewing what people have done because it's in the team report. It's a self-reporting tool. And so we've really seen how it works. When Carrie and I did our coalition work, we would use it as well with our subcommittees. We've always been in a virtual space with our statewide organization that we were a part of. And so it was one way for us to have a living Google Doc, or we used Box back then. And everyone would just put the reports in there. You could see what all the work was being done and kept everyone on task with that. So that's to come after break. So that's a great question because it is a lot of times plans are done and then it's like they sit on a shelf and they don't get looked at again until you have to say, oh crap, we got a report coming up. What have we done? Look at the report and you're like, oh yeah, we've done some things. Well, this is a way to really look at it and see how it's coming forward. And we'll talk a little bit about some of the key things when you get to see it. So where are we at, folks, with break time?
So we've got time for 15 minutes. And I think if people, don't be afraid to heat your lunch up and bring it back. When we talk about the reporting tool, it'll be a little bit more of a kind of sharing opportunities and examples of ways to use it, a little bit of voice. And then after that, we'll be moving into application exercise where you'll be doing some individual work and then working in some small groups, but you'll have time to, eat a little bit of your lunch while you're on screen. If that's helpful to you right now, to take your 15 minutes and bring it on back if you need to. So that leaves us right to noon. Then we'll be back right on the hour.
Ooh, she's giving you a bonus 4 minutes.
I did.
It must be December. She's generous.
All right, my team, are you good or you want to go back in the room?
I think we're good. I'm going to give Jill a call.
Okay.
All right. So y'all are seeing this Google Doc here. And there's several ways in which we can use this Google Doc. And so I'm going to kind of give you a short overview here first, and then we'll talk about some other options of which you can use it. So if we were leaving our meeting today and everybody had specific tasks that they have on the calendar that need to be done, we could give everybody a copy just like we did here and say, when we come back, our next meeting is, next Thursday at noon. Come back and have this filled out. So you may have a shared document where people can see it, or maybe they come to the meeting with it prepared. But basically what we're going to do is, for me, from my point of view and the tasks that I had to do, I'm going to fill this out. So what happened? So I may say, I called and reserved the room, or I talked to our marketing person, or whatever it was that I was supposed to do from the last time we met till this time. So what happened? What did I do? And maybe there was something where, I got sick. I was out for the week, so I didn't get anything done. That's fine. So go ahead and put that in there. So then some high points and some low points. What might be a high point? They emailed me back, everything is a go. A low point is, the second task that I had, no, I didn't get a response for that email. So kind of hearing that good and bad, that high and low. It also can be also personal too. So we talked about, what happened? Well, I was sick. So a high point might also be, this is where you have an opportunity to kind of have that personal check-in as well. It was a holiday weekend. I had a great weekend. Unfortunately, I didn't get to see all of my family. So you can use this kind of in both ways. And that's how we use it in our personal team. So we talk about what happened both on a personal and a task level, as well as our high points and low points on a personal and task level. What focus is needed now? So this is kind of now that I'm looking at, this is what had happened. Now these are kind of my next steps. This is what I need to be doing next. And listing those there between now and the next time that we meet. Plans for moving forward, or this might be, some priority areas. This is what I'm going to be doing in this week. By Thursday this week, I'm going to have this done. I need to coordinate with Angie to talk about, I'm waiting for some things from the marketing. So Angie and I need to meet, and we need to coordinate some things there to move things forward. And then when are we going to do that by? Our next meeting. So this is again how you would use it for a personal check-in. So when you get together as a committee, so let's say we were the marketing committee, so 4 of us filled this out. We came together now as the marketing committee. We could either read these real quick before the meeting, take some time during the meeting to talk about it, and then we've included this conversation. So this is kind of a debrief. So you let everybody kind of review each person's report out document, and then this is your conversation. And this is that ORID, again, both in the report out and in this conversation. So what stood out to you from the reports, what was exciting, what was disappointing, and just kind of as a group debrief that together. And it kind of lets us know, where are some shifts and some things that we need to be making as a committee as we move forward. And what did we decide to do as a committee? So with that, that is one way that you can use this. You may use this when we did subcommittees for coalition work. We had each individual person fill out just what had happened and the high points and the low points. And so that was filled out ahead of time. So we came to the meeting, we just reviewed those specific tasks or what had happened, our high points and low points. We heard a report out from each person, or we took time to read each person's report. And then as a collective, now that we've looked at everybody's what has happened, their high points and low points, now what are the next tasks as a group that we need to do? And then plans to move forward, who's going to be doing what by when, and giving those assignments out. So that's another way that you can break this out, and it depends on what makes sense for your group. Another thing that you can use this for then, so that we talked about this and just a reporting out for each committee. So now let's say we have a coordinating committee. We're the marketing committee and the logistics committee, and the entertainment committee now need to meet. And maybe not everybody needs to meet, maybe only the people who have been designated to report out. The heads of those committees are going to meet to talk about the overall project. So we can use this in that same format as well, where each committee is filling out what has happened, what are the high points and low points and what's happening, just to kind of let everybody within the group know where each committee is going. Some plans that may move forward, or things that may come up from that is, where do we need some coordination? Our group didn't get a chance to move on our stuff because we're waiting for the marketing group who didn't get us what we needed to get, right? So it's kind of keeping that open communication so everybody knows where everybody is and has an opportunity to share and keep the plans moving from that. Let's see. And again, when you look at this, the ORID format, you know, we have the questions here. The format is the exact same at the top. The colors coordinate so that what happened, that is your O level, right? That's the data, that's what happened. And then you get into your high points and your low points, which is that R, that reflective of what went well, what isn't going so well. What focus is needed now? That's where I have to interpret and kind of put my head in the game and think about next steps. And that D, that's that decisional. This is what I'm going to be doing. This is when I'm going to have it done by, and this is our next meeting. So you'll see, again, the color coordination through both the report format and then the debrief conversation as well is already laid out there for you. So with that, I'm going to just pause and see if we have any questions on how this has been, or how this can be used. And then I'll ask our facilitators to give us some stories of how they've seen this play out and the effectiveness. So any questions of clarification first?
So we're doing this as not as individuals, as a team.
Yes, and so when you leave your group, your meeting, you've done this action plan, you've done the coordination. This is a form that you can use, and you'll need to decide, does every person fill this out before the next meeting? Does each committee fill this out before the next overall group? And it depends on how you're meeting. If as a large group, you're not meeting again, then it's going to be individuals probably. So it kind of depends on how you want the responsibility to be broken up. So if I have a personal task, you may want to know from me by our meeting next week what I did personally. And so yes, you can use it as both.
Right. So to clarify that a little bit, so in your subcommittee, you could all fill them out and come together as a subcommittee and then create, okay, of our individual reports, what do we want to report to the larger group? That's one way of doing it. Another way of doing it is having your subcommittee come together and say, only one of us has to be at the report out meeting. Who wants to do it this week? But let's fill out this form together so that we have a collective shared information going to that larger group. It's a great way to be able to not always have the same person go to a report out meeting, but it could be anybody from that team that's available. And then it's a way of sharing, but also having everybody have input into what that report out is. It's a really great way to help with that delegation of resources and not try to find a day where every single team member on every single team can meet at that time, but rather here's the time we're meeting, send a representative and have this report filled out because it's done collectively from your team. So either way works.
What I've really appreciated about this as well is that it allows each committee, or it keeps each committee reporting out on the same thing, right? So sometimes we go to a meeting and we have one committee that reports out a lot of information that not necessarily we need to know. Like I didn't need to know that. As a group, we just need to kind of know the check-in points. And you may have a group that reports out that doesn't really tell you anything about where they're at. So this kind of gives that format where every committee is reporting the same information.
The other thing is it's really great for onboarding. So you have members that come in and out of your committees and you try to figure out how to onboard them. Well, you have a track record now. Just have them review the last month of reports and they can get an idea of the type of work that's being done, where they might be able to add their expertise, where they might fit, what committee do they even want to sit on might be an option for them. So it's a great way to onboard somebody without having to spend a ton of time trying to remember everything that you have to tell them.
And I'll talk about evaluation. If you put on your evaluation hat, right? Okay, so you can tell your evaluator what has happened, but we oftentimes don't always want to admit to the things that not quite are going well, right? But an evaluator will really appreciate if you really identify the things that have been going well and those things that haven't been going so well. And then you have that readjustment in the yellow. So based on what has gone well and where we've had some struggles, here's how we're going to go for it the next month. So you're constantly showing them what you're doing to, readjust and take another stab at it and make adjustments. There's not an evaluator out there or a grant program officer that I have encountered in all my years of doing this work that wouldn't appreciate the fact that you are making progress, trying to do something. You're going to run into, especially in our work, when you're working with people, you can't control people. And so you may have a bugaboo county attorney that's not working with you. And you're just going to say, okay, this month I really struggled with him. He was a roadblock for me, but here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to have Supervisor Bill go talk to that county supervisor and tell him how important it is that he comes to my business. Okay, next month that didn't work, so we're going to try again. But what I'm doing is documenting all along those roadblocks and what I did to try and get around them and keep moving forward, because that's the bottom line with a grant, in my opinion. And you guys may have a little different say on that, but my experience has been, as long as you're making a little bit of progress and trying to get around those roadblocks, you're showing that you're doing your work.
And it's
And
important
Angie,
to.
I just want to add a quick comment. You touched on a lot of things that we think about as we're evaluators too. Although we work and we coach the champions, we're also continuously evaluating their progress. So I also see this as a document for the champions to use to prepare for their quarterly progress calls. Because during those calls, we're asking about, where are you with your implementation? What are some of the challenges that you as a champion may be facing? But it's also an opportunity for you to talk about the challenges the group might be facing in some areas that we can help you refocus or maybe think about in a different way, or provide additional resources and training for. So I do see this, I love it. We were talking about using this internally too, Karin and I, but it's also a great way to prepare for those quarterly progress calls. Get that information ahead of time, come to those quarterly progress calls with this information completed. That way we can talk about the progress, the high and the low points, and find ways to work with you strategically.
Yeah, and Selena, that's exactly what I was going to say, is that highlighting those low points sometimes can be the most powerful, because when you're sharing those out, you can see where people need help and you say, hey, I have a resource for that. I just didn't know you needed it. So yeah, great.
Well, and to that point, Carrie and I use this with a regional 4-state advisory board. So you guys are kind of that kind of same kind of thing, working in multiple states, right? And so they did the top part of this. Those coordinators that were working in this field, they did the top part of this, that what had happened, the high points and low points. And they allowed that information to let the advisory board say, okay, here's where we can focus. Just like Carrie said, we've got ideas for you now, because it gave that advisory board, or, in this case, your staff, your center staff, some ideas of where to guide, where can we help you? Otherwise, you don't know how to best help those folks. And so this advisory board was able to help them what needs to be focused on next. And they started making some plans of what they could, really put into what we need to look for funding, training, whatever it was that they ended up coming up with. So that's how they completed this.
Perfect. Any other questions or comments on this?
I just want to point one other thing out. If you recall back from your focused conversation training, the top 2 parts are about the me. The objective level is from what I see, hear, do, and the reflective level is about my struggles, my excitement. So that's where that natural divide on this form is. And then the we comes when we go into that interpretive level. So the information that I provide as an individual into the focus of the we goes into the yellow, and how are we going to move forward is the D. And so that's that shift. I just want to remind you of that distinction in the way our brain works.
Questions or comments?
What's a helpful timeline for the frequency of completing a document like this?
We do it weekly.
And I would say it depends. The longer you go between filling them out, the more content is going to be there. So, but really, the frequency. So sometimes we'll go weeks where we won't fill these out. Like we'll have a meeting that's going to be a different target. We're not going to do team reports. Then making sure that I'm filling my team report out as I go, at least with that O and that R level information, because I won't remember what I thought 3 weeks ago. So I keep it kind of as running for myself and then share it with the group when, you know, like we said, we have an agreement that it's in by Sunday nights. We meet Monday nights. Everybody's expected to review. That may be an option or a working agreement that you guys put into place. It may be that you take the first 10 minutes of every meeting to review it. So if you've reviewed it on your own, you might show up 5 minutes late for the meeting because you know the first 10 minutes is about reviewing the reports. So it's whatever working agreements work best for you. But I think the key here is to put a working agreement in place and know what that is so that everybody follows it. And then how do you work best for yourself? I know for myself, I don't remember what I did yesterday, let alone last week. So I keep it as a running tally.
Well, and like that advisory board we talked about, that was a quarterly meeting. And so it really does depend on your group.
Yeah, I was just going to say too, in coalition work, you know, the people around the table were volunteers. So they didn't have a lot of tasks between meeting to meeting, right? Because they were, you know, there were small little things that they were doing. So yeah, it was just once a month.
Angie, you're being asked to, if you could repeat that step of how we look at the form again.
Okay, so yeah.
Regarding the blue.
So if you recall, the blue is the objective level, and the objective level is what I take in with my eyes, my ears, my experience, what I objectively saw in the world. And then the R level, the reflective level, is what is in green, and that's what, you know, is what has been my highs, my lows. It's not about the necessarily, and the my may be that subcommittee group, right, of a larger whole. So it's that individual container of people or a person. And then when we bring it back to the large group, or, you know, maybe to our supervisor, how can we come together? The yellow is where we start taking those individual thoughts and those individual things that we've experienced and saying, what is the things that we can now focus on based on all this new information? Because like Carrie said, there may be someone there that just has that answer. So sharing those individual thoughts, those individual subcommittee ideas, the larger group may have some things to say, yeah, hey, we can help you with that. Let's focus on this, because based on what you're saying, we've got the right thing to fit together. So those new connections happen at that yellow level. And that's where, you know, you can do those for yourself and then also get the larger group to add to that list. So you certainly can say, oh, now that I've really reflected on what's really been good, and I know that I need to work on this low point, here's what I think I might do, but I'm going to share it with the large group, and they may add some things to it too. And I may have some things I know I'm going to move forward, but they may have some things that say, yeah, you might want to think about doing this by the next time too. So that bottom half is allowing that larger voice to come and help move the plan forward.
And Angie, this is also helpful for these champions because they have some, I could call them missing organizations, but it's not because of engagement. It's maybe because they're already at capacity because of COVID, and example being schools for a lot of these locations or specific hospital staff. They may not be able to take part in some of the more extensive planning, but documents like this can help them stay up to date and maybe give a little bit of input, which is what they're able to do at this stage in the game. So it's helpful on multiple levels.
Absolutely. I recalled some of you went through the circles of involvement, and there's those that are just needing to continuously be informed. And this is a great way to keep those people that are in those outer circles, in the circle of involvement, to be informed, because they don't always have to be at every meeting or every subcommittee. This allows those folks to be where they need to be. Advise. They can be advisories. Mm-hmm.
All right.
Ready to move to
sharing.
Ready to move to application.
Yeah.
All right. So we are going to throw another couple of links your way. Just so you guys know, we will provide the center with all of the links. So if you didn't keep track of them or don't have them, I'm pretty sure in your central space, they will all be posted here very shortly. So we'll make sure those get passed on, a clean copy for everything. But what we're going to do now is really start to think about a project that works for you. Of the 3 projects we talked about, it was kind of a blend. It might have been on somebody's radar or a little bit touching everybody, but it really was a kind of an exercise. So what we're going to do now is really just spend a few minutes thinking about a project that you are working on that's coming up for you. And you'll see Angie just put in the chat pod the 4Ds template. So this is where you're going to spend just, you're going to get 2 templates. The first one is the 4Ds. That's a forced copy. So those will be your own copy, where you just think about a project and get it and walk it through the 4Ds that we started yesterday morning so that you can make it doable, discrete, distinct. And I thought 4th one's escape. Defined. Thank you. Then the second template that she's putting in there is also a forced copy, and that's that mountain scene. So you can start to scope it. You're going to have 5 minutes of quiet time right now. And then we're going to break you into breakout rooms for about 10 minutes where you get to just commit to that one project that you're going to do with a couple of people. So we're just going to give you 5 minutes of quiet time to work through these 2 documents. If you only get through the first one, that's okay. Just get as far as you can. And identify something that you're going to walk away with where you can use this tool or this process for yourself or a small group of people that you're working with.
I will say that at the top of this, we didn't have this in the form yesterday, but I gave you something just for you to really think on the 4Ds, so you can try to create, what I need to work on. And so there's a table at the top that just kind of helps you think through what might be some possible projects I can use this for. And before we go into this is where Christian, I was going to put you on the spot, because you had a really good idea in our breakout when we were doing this about how you might be able to use this. So you're more familiar with your work. So would you mind, Christian? Are you with us still, Christian?
Yes, ma'am. I was on a phone call. Can you repeat that again for me?
Remember when I said I'm going to put you on the spot later and ask you to talk about how you might be able to use this in some sort of planning process that you are all a part of?
Oh, yes, ma'am. I said earlier that what this would benefit from, especially the last 2 that y'all presented, would be to kind of keep a track on the progress of we have 3 priority areas that we're focusing on. So I think that last 2, well, all of it, but really that last 2 would be a way for me to keep up with the progress of every group, because it does get a little overwhelming, and I don't want the other champions to think that it's really hard, but it gets overwhelming trying to email 50 different people when you could just email or just reach this one team leader who can, get into their respective teams and then report back to you. And that's what this is helping me with as far as delegating. So I don't have to email every single person. That team leader for, we have substance abuse. So that team leader for substance abuse could use that last tool and say, hey, Christian, this is what our progress is. And for jobs, this is what our progress is. So it'll kind of help to limit me from doing so much and allowing them to really do the work and just kind of letting me kind of be the overseer, kind of, you want to say like that. But I think that this is going to really be helpful as far as communicating, because as we've said before, and a lot of champions are going through with it, is that people are, they say they're going to do something, and then you have to constantly call and email, and it does get frustrating. But I think having this right here and allowing the team leaders to take charge of that would help us out as far as only getting 3 documents as opposed to 50. So that's kind of what I looked at it as, a way of condensing all of our work to a simpler form, to where we're not so stressed out, and having to do a lot of legwork. We're just kind of getting the summaries of everything. I guess that's how I want to say it, if y'all could understand.
Yeah, you talked also, and maybe someone else too can chime in, about the plans that you have coming up that this might work for. So we're thinking about what kind of plans you're going to be going into. So where might you use these plans? Let's get a couple of ideas to get some people's thinking. y'all talked about some things that this naturally seemed to fit.
And then
And
go
I'm-
ahead and drop them in the chat pod too, if you can use your voice or drop them in the chat
And
pod.
while you're doing that, I'll go and actually make the link so that you don't have to log in. No worries. Don't use the one that has sharing behind it. Otherwise, we're going to end up screwing this up.
Mary has her hand up.
Well, it seems to me that this will be real handy as I start having meetings with the team leaders from our event, our priority planning event, that this is going to be fantastic to just kind of document and kind of organize things that I wasn't quite sure how I would organize. So this is going to be great to do the 3 priorities that we have determined need to be done for our community.
So there's a note in the chat pod. We've been going through the RHC designation for 4 clinics. This would be a great way to keep everyone's updates in place. Yeah. So if you've got access to the docs, the links, go ahead and start thinking through a project for yourself. We're going to just give you 2 or 3 minutes. So I do want to put you in breakout rooms. I want you to commit to something with a small group of people. So we're just going to give you 3 or 4 minutes. If you just use a pen and a piece of paper, if you don't have access to the links, and just start thinking through a project that is coming up for you. Angie, you'll get them put in the.
I think the one that I said, use this one, is going to work. It
Okay.
had restriction on it, and I think it should work. Someone give me a thumbs up if you got it open.
It's asking about a copy document. Would you like to make a copy?
That's what we want.
Yes.
That
Okay.
makes an individual one.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So we're just going to set a timer here for 3 minutes and give you 3 minutes of quiet time.
Kelly, which one is asking for a login?
The one that you just shared. Or no, Angie.
That one is asking for a login.
On my end, it is. I only have one that I can open, and it is I guess shared that other people were, somebody else was typing in it.
That was the one that Stephanie shared. Okay, it's coming across restricted. I'm opening it up again. Third time's a charm, ladies and gent. Try that one.
That one's still asking for a login.
So if you take that shared copy and then go
Yeah.
up to the top and just make a copy for yourself.
Yeah, we'll
That's
put that
another
in
way.
there. It totally is open, so I don't know what's going on, but there's another link. But make a copy of that one that has sharing at the end.
Just go up to file on the Google and it'll say make a copy and you can make one for yourself.
So we might need a couple more minutes. Technical difficulty moment.
Okay.
Taskmaster. Are we in?
All right. So we're going to put you in breakout rooms for 5 minutes. You're going to be in groups of 2s or 3s, whatever David has set up there. And then just share with somebody else what you're going to do. You've got just a couple minutes to think it through. If you need help scoping it back, if it's a bigger project, or you just want to be able to say out loud, this is what I'm going to work on. So go ahead and go in those breakout rooms for 5 minutes, and then we'll see you back here.
Okay, here you go. Gonna beam you all up.
and then there were 7.
This might be one of my favorite workshops that we've had with you guys. I've just really enjoyed it.
Good.
And we have so many uses. Like if I was in the breakout room, I'd say, you know what, we want all of you to fill this out for your quarterly progress call.
I think I heard that out of Selena.
Right. I kind of strongly encourage that.
So we had a group effort that took this to an Excel spreadsheet on steroids. So each one of us have a tab that has this form in it, and then it has a concate function that pulls it into a summary document. And so everyone's team report comes into one document. So you get to review that before our meeting. So you see every section into one sheet. And it's been fun and helpful. And, you know, we probably have built more community and team and brought up some sticky issues that we maybe wouldn't have because we let that negative side kind of float out there. But we also have had some great discussions because of it, because, you know, it allows that vulnerability to be there, and growth has happened. I mean, that's no doubt about it for all of us.
Yeah.
I think it's like uncovering what's underneath the rock, right? There's some fertile stuff there, but you don't always want to see what's there. I think you're a fisherman, aren't you, Selena? Is that what I remember?
No, not me.
That was you? Okay, there's someone that surprised me in one of these calls that's a fisherman. And I was like, really? But that, you know, that's where you find some of that the juiciest stuff is there, but you aren't going to get to it unless you allow people the space to really.
So here's our report on steroids. So we all fill it out on this end, and then it comes into a summary on this end.
Sharing. You're not.
Yep.
Oh, I love some data.
Do you see it?
Yeah.
So show like the individual first.
So I'll just shrink it down so you can see it all in one page. So you can see our O, R, I, and D. And so this is what I fill out by myself. And this is where, if I have any team meeting agendas, that's something that we've added that's really helpful. And then the summary goes to collective here, which just pulls the data that I did in my individual report so we can see them collectively. And then this is gray here is where we take our notes from the meeting. So, and then this is just priorities and actions. What you don't see on the front page is this team meeting agenda. It's actually what we pull to create our agenda. So we create the agenda, gets sent out Monday morning based on what people say need to be talked about.
So everyone gets a chance.
I would love to use this for.
Helps with, have you found this helps with keeping the meeting on schedule?
Supposed to.
We can spend an hour of our 2-hour meeting talking about these team reports. And so every now and then we'll give ourselves more time to really digest what's been going on. But when we have a large agenda, it allows us to say, okay, what are the big things that what needs to be added to the agenda? What's on those reports that you needed more information about, or we really need to add to an agenda? And sometimes we'll say, well, does it need to be added today, or is it one that we can put on next week's agenda as a result of what we're seeing in those team reports? So we can, depending on how thick our agenda is, we'll spend more time or less time. There's never enough time.
Right.
But it allows us to contain.
It helps us prioritize. Like, no, this is something that we need to be talking about today. This is something that we can wait on. So.
Well, if there is a sticky point that came up for a lot of us, then it's like, okay, this is something that needs to come into today's meeting. And
I would love to do this with our quarterly progress calls and putting all of the notes for each location into one and having it pull it over into a collated, here's the priorities across cohorts or whatever it is, where we could look and prioritize what we need to be addressing with the champions. Slightly different approach, but.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And we started out with the form that we gave you guys. We used that one for a year. And then we just evolved
Mhm.
and is what happened. But it got us started and got us consistently using it. And then we went, okay, there's other things we need.
Yeah.
Okay.
Amy and Karen, did you commit?
We talked.
Talking's good. Talking's good.
We did. We went over our well, I went over my list, and then she reminded me that she was almost done with hers. So we got kind of did
I
a
gave her some pointers.
yeah.
Fantastic.
Well, we gave you a ton of stuff today, that's for sure. And so in good fashion, we want to make sure we leave room for your center staff to really close this out today. But before we do that, we want to just have a moment for you to reflect on what your experience has been over these last 2 days. You covered a lot of information. You got a lot of good ideas going. You've got some plans that are going to be kind of exciting. And so in the chat box, we'll have someone type in our thing that we like to do, and that would be saying, I came with today with blank, and I'm leaving with blank. So I came into this 2-day session with, and I'm leaving with, and try and get some what your experience has been. So we're going to start at the bottom of the list here, and Deborah, that means you get to type it in, right? But we're going to go with Deborah or Gina, Deborah, and then Brandy. Gina, I came in to this session with, and I'm leaving with.
She was having some computer trouble.
I'm here. Are we typing or just saying it out
Let's
loud?
just have you say it.
Okay.
Deborah has had trouble talking, so we'll let her type. She gets a pass.
Okay. I guess I came in with the unknown, not knowing what to expect or exactly what we were going to be doing, but I feel like I'm leaving with an organizational plan. I feel like this is really an applicable tool that is going to take a big project and break it down to very manageable things.
Thank you, Gina. And Brandy's having trouble with her speaker, so go ahead and type in Brandy. And so we'll go to Jackie, Christian, and Selena S.
Well, I'm about at the same consensus that I came in not really knowing what to expect. With so much going on with the action plans that I have before me from our last Community Connect session. And I'm leaving with great tools that will benefit everyone that's on our team so that we can all be on the same page, know exactly what's ahead of us and what each of us are doing while we're not meeting.
All right. Thank you, Jackie. Christian, Selena S., and Vicky.
I came in with worries about action planning, not really knowing like where to go, what to do, but I'm leaving here with knowledge on how to do it and how to use the tool of delegation, which I plan to use very much in all of this action planning, and I am complete.
Awesome. Thanks, Christian. Selena S., Vicky, and then Trisha.
So same with Christian. I came in with not knowing how to kind of lead that priority action planning and, getting everyone on the same page and engaged. But I feel like with these tools, it kind of helps outline the thought process and keeps everyone organized and on the same page.
Thank you, Selena. All right, Vicky's Trisha, and then it's Jessica.
Came in with expectations of learning something new, because anytime we meet with you all, we always learn something awesome and new. And I'm leaving with more tools for my toolbox. So I'm excited about that. And I'm complete.
Awesome. Thanks, Vicky. Trisha, Jessica, and then it's Carrie D.
I came in with not knowing a better way of holding everyone accountable for their assignments. And I'm leaving with having a better and a quicker and more effective way of having everyone complete their assigned tasks before the next meeting without me calling them, emailing them for updates and to find out where they are before we have the meeting. And I'm complete, and I'm happy, and I'm complete.
Thank you, Trisha. Jessica, Carrie D, and Kelly.
Well, I'm kind of like a lot of other people. I came in with the not knowing, 100% sure, not confident with action planning, and leaving with, even though we are a small town hospital and we don't have a lot of people to delegate to, but just knowing it's not all on me and that these tools really will help delegate some other stuff.
All right, thanks, Jessica. Carrie D, Kelly, and Lee.
Also I think I came in with the unknown. I'm not really sure of what was going on, but I'm leaving with it's okay to relinquish control, to give control, to delegate some of it out and not have to be the only one to take care of everything. So I think that's what I'm leaving with.
Awesome. Thanks, Carrie. Kelly, and then Lee, and then we've got Mary.
I think I came in with some organizational skills that I've brought from my old job, but I think I'm leaving with a tool now that will be easy to use and like get that engagement with the team and the shareholders that we have. So I think that tool is great.
Awesome. Thanks, Kelly. Lee, Mary, and then we got Karen.
I came in today with anxiety a little bit, just from I've seen action planning from the center and the huge sticky wall and all that, and so I was a little anxious about today, but I think I'm leaving with some confidence, so I'm really excited. So thank you.
Awesome.
And I'm complete.
Thanks, Lee. Mary, Karen, and then it's Amy.
Well, I kind of agree with Lee. I came in with a little anxiety, not knowing what to expect. But I feel grateful now because I feel like I have some tools that will help me in a little direction to stay organized and on task. And I'm complete.
Thanks, Mary. Karen, Amy, and then it's we'll grab Deborah if you've got a voice.
I came with some knowledge and I'm leaving with a lot more and knowledge on doing the delegations to other people. I will be closing this my community champion period of the end of December. So I wished I had these tools about a year ago. So I wish all of y'all good luck on your community champion projects. And if I can help anyone or have y'all happy to email me or contact me, and I'll be glad to help you in any way. And I'm complete.
Oh, Karen, we're going to give you some love. Everyone find the reactions down there in the bottom and give her a little heart. That was nice. There you go. Feel the love, Karen. All right. We've got Amy and then Deborah, if you've got a voice, and we got Brandy we got Deborah and Brandy in the chat.
Okay, so I came into this with chaos, both kind of literally because I was unexpectedly at home and you saw the kids yesterday and all that craziness, but also we've had so much other stuff going on within the hospital that it's really made me put some of this other thing kind of on a secondary. So this not only is helping me leave with a renewed focus, but also with ideas and plans on how to implement them and kind of round back to everybody with some clear, hey, let's go on these next steps and kind of pick up where we left off. I'm
Awesome.
complete.
Thank you, Amy. Dave, you want to be our Deborah?
Absolutely, I'd love to. So Deborah says she came in with not knowing and is to begin ideas. And she's leaving with the tool to share. And then if you want me to, I'll read Brandy. And Brandy says, I came in with frustrations and I'm leaving with a great plan to help with my frustrations.
Glad to help there. You bet. And so we got Robbie, Karen, and then we'll leave it with Selena to take us home.
So I came in with some pretty good expectations and now I'm leaving with them exceeded and met. So this is awesome. Thank you.
Karen?
I came in with knowing this is a need that we're hearing from a lot of our champions, and every meeting that we have with ULife really exceeds that, and you did that today as well. I think they've got a great plan moving forward, and they've got excitement and confidence to do that.
Awesome, thank
I'm
you.
complete.
All right, Selena, we do have Dave ready with a poll if you want him to do that. And so after you do your I am, came with, and leaving with.
Well, I think Robbie and Karin kind of summed it up. I came in with great expectations that Hugh Life is the team to help us and our champions and moving forward with collaborating with their joint partners and keeping them engaged. And I'm leaving with more tools and resources that we can use as technical assistance providers to help the champions in their communities.
Awesome, thank you. So Dave, you want to launch our poll so we can get our post, and then I'll let you do the final comments here for Selena as well.
You're muted, Dave.
I know it didn't want to unmute me. Apparently I talked too much today. Here we go.
So this is our measurement of where you actually feel you had some growth.
All right, they're zapping in fast, and we're at 8 of 19.
Keep them coming in. There might be some on the phone that can't access the screen.
All right, we're at 15, which is probably pretty close.
Can you show the results?
I sure can. All right, has everybody seen the results? Robbie, I will let you screenshot.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Where are we sitting at? Confidence with moving into the planning phase. We have 5 that agree, strongly agree, and a lot of you that agree. So it looks like we improved on that one. I love these results. Understanding the foundations to committing to a plan. 11 agreed. And if I remember right, these are better than when you first came in. Confidence to engage and coordinate a plan. Look at that. 7 strongly agree. 8 agree. And 4th one, I understand how to keep the plan moving. 10 agree and 5 strongly agree.
If I remember correctly, we had agree and undecideds and no strongly agrees yesterday morning. So
that deserves a little toot of the horn down there. Go find that little toot down there, everyone.
Robbie, did you get screenshots of all 4?
I did.
All right, take us home, Selena.
Okay, I'm just going to share my screen. All right, so overall, we just want to say thank you for your participation, your engagement throughout this 2-day event. Thank you so much to the Hugh Life team for working with us and just being welcoming and warming and meeting our champions where they are. So we really appreciate your approach to coaching and training. So just for some last upcoming program activities, we are already in December. It's hard to believe, but we are busy getting things prepared for the upcoming months. Just a reminder that the Legato webinar series continues through December 17th. Tomorrow's topic will focus on how to truly communicate who you are as an organization. Again, we encourage our champions to attend these series. It's not just for the hospital leadership teams, but remember, as a champion, you are a marketing face. So you're the brand of your hospital or your clinic. So being there tomorrow and in the other 2 to come is so very important. Up next is also quarterly progress calls. Robbie will send some more information on getting those scheduled soon. And just as a reminder, to submit your invoice and checklist, Robbie will also send a reminder Outlook invitation, just having that information there for you to serve as a reference as well. The community priority action planning workshops, we have those set on our calendars to take place between January and March. And this is for those organizations that have already completed the Community Connect event. So remember, after those Connect events, we had the health assessment in the fields. Some of you have already completed your reports and some others are working on those reports. Just a reminder to get those returned to Karen and Robbie within that designated deadline. And so following that, we will use the information from your assessment or questionnaire results and take that into the priority action planning and identify some priorities that you guys will develop action plans for. So this will be really exciting for those that participated in this workshop, because you'll really get a chance to use the tools that you've learned pretty soon. So we'll be working with you guys to get those scheduled. Again, this will be through a doodle poll and Robbie will be communicating that to you by Friday. So make sure that you're working with your leadership teams to select one option that works best for you guys. Some of you have already selected, so this won't apply to those that have already selected a date. And finally, we will have a Community Champion Learning Collaborative taking place in February. This will be an opportunity for us to work with the champions and taking a look at using some of the communication information that Legato has been sharing through this webinar series, as well as a toolkit that they will share in January, and how to apply that, and just debriefing some of those workshops and Connect events that you guys have had and talking about other different communication opportunities or barriers. That is all that I have on my end. I'll turn it over to Karen or Robbie to see if you guys have anything else to add.
The only clarification I wanted to give was, besides that first December 2020 Legato webinar series one, the rest of these are 2021.
Yes, thank you. I'm stuck. Thanks, Karen. All right.
Questionnaire, excuse me. Or no?
Say that again, Robbie.
Did we want to mention the questionnaire?
The Survey Monkey going out after this.
Yes.
The evaluation questions.
Thank you. So Robbie will follow up this afternoon. She'll have a brief questionnaire that we would like for you guys to complete. It's just an overall way to gauge your feedback from this event. Remember, your feedback is important and it helps us to prioritize future activities. And that is all. So thank you guys so much. We really appreciate Hugh Life and the champions for your time.
Thanks, everybody.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Enjoy your December. Happy holidays to all.
Stay safe and healthy.
Happy holidays.
And we'll see you hopefully in the new year.